big picture before we dive into the specifics, just in regards to Stetson Bennett. Kirby Smart gets the monkey off his back as well. I thought, I'll start with this. I thought that the meeting of Kirby Smart and Nick Saban at midfield, even though I couldn't really hear a word that was being said on TV, you could just tell that, Nick Saban doesn't want to lose a national championship game. You know that he's hurting for his players. He's pissed and all that as a competitor, but you could tell that there was still a lot of him that was just happy that if he had to lose, it was to Kirby Smart. Nick Saban was smiling more than he does after winning a national championship at midfield.
Yeah, I will say that I was hands deep bawling, just trying to actually realize that it was real. But I agree. I kind of went back and watched everything, and you could just tell he was kind of like a proud Papa Bear. Like the person that stuck around with him for I think 11 years on his Alabama staff, and from the Dolphins to LSU to Alabama, and to see him finally do it and get over the hump, and then do it to his mentor too. He had to feel deep down that such like a proud moment. And even though Alabama got beat and he didn't want to lose his 8th national championship or whatever, but Nick Saban is one of those guys that these assistant coaches, especially ones like Kirby who stuck around for a long time, they mean a lot to him. And with him not having any sons, these are like his sons. So when they finally do get to beat him, it's a bittersweet moment for him, I'm sure. But there's no telling what those two said to each other, but I guarantee you Kirby found a way to take some kind of dig and kind of just be like, finally, Nick, thanks for thanks for not finding a way to win this ball game. But then again, Georgia didn't give up at the end, and they finally finished they finally finished this game, and it was great to see. But Nick Saban, I agree, like even with him talking to Holly Rowe afterwards, and it was they were a really good team and this and that, and it was just really respectful from Nick Saban, and you don't expect anything less from him. So while he probably is steaming in the film room this morning, you got to think he sent Kirby another text this morning congratulating him too. So that's what college football is all about, is when two coaches really flat out respect each other, and Kirby finally got the upper hand this time around. Thank goodness.
Yeah, so Kirby Smart takes over a top 10 program in the country, and he upgrades it. But he has just taken abuse after abuse after abuse, that he's not the guy that can take them all the way to the top. He's built this just recruiting machine. And I think he's been given a little bit of a bad take on that he can just recruit, and then he pretty much just lets the players just run out there and run around and get the job done and hit people and win the games, and he doesn't have anything to do with it past that, where he's obviously a great football mind. So he gets to place himself on that upper tier with just a few guys that have won national championships.
6 years ago, Georgia hired him to take this program to the next level because they felt like the Bulldogs have plateaued with Coach Rick, and unfortunately they did. As Georgia fans should all love Coach Rick, because he was the first big part in getting the Dogs to where they are right now. And Kirby Smart just took it and kind of elevated it to the next level by increasing recruiting on the offensive line, increasing recruiting on the defensive front that desperately needed it, and it showed. And I don't care what anybody says, that sucker can develop a linebacker. He's got coaches that can develop an offensive lineman, a running back, a quarterback who no one ever thought would ever be in this situation, who many people wanted them to lose because they wanted to be right so bad. And Kirby Smart should not have any doubters anymore. That man is the right guy for the job in Athens. He needs a contract extension for life. Keep him at all costs, because what he's doing is buying into the kids, buying into this university, and proving that 41 years ago, it wasn't just Georgia happening to win a national championship. Like 6 years in, and he's already doing it. And like he said last night, I hope that we don't have to wait 41 more years. And if he continues to coach the way he is, I don't think Georgia will. But I'm so glad Kirby Smart is the head football coach at the University of Georgia, because he is the next, in my opinion, the next great college football mind that we're going to see take over the sport.
And just to give some historical perspective for people that don't know Georgia football or just started watching college football in general, you saw Vince Dooley at certain times during the game. He is kind of the godfather of Georgia football. He was there forever. He was the guy who won the last national championship. Then they had a number of coaches like Ray Goff and Jim Donnan, and there was a string of 7-5, 8-4 kind of campaigns, and that's what Georgia football was from like the late '80s up until Mark Richt. Mark Richt, he finished in the top 10 in the country 8 of his 15 years, typically went to major bowl games, had a great record, just couldn't get over the hump. And a partial disclaimer for Mark Richt is if there was a college football playoff, he probably would have made it in like 02, 05, 07, 2012. So who knows what he would have been able to do. He just didn't have a college football playoff. He had to make the final 2. He set it up as a top 10 program for Kirby Smart, who was just worked his rear end off to recruit first and foremost. Just an amazing 19 5-stars on the roster and just a loaded roster. And of course, you got to develop and you got to strategize to get those guys in the right position. So here we are.